gotta say, I don't mean to brag. But in and out of Costco in 15 minutes flat, and it was packed. I was weaving in and out of people like an F1 racer, Indy 500, got in and out. I bought a new printer. I got some toilet paper. I got some hummus and a few other things. So, I don't know. I'm still kind of excited about my Costco membership, I got to say.
Costco, where you go in for a gallon of milk and you come out with 10 gallons of milk and a trampoline.
2 blankets, like I did this week.
That's right. Well, welcome to the Fix Blood Sugar webinar with Barton Nutrition, Dr. Scott Saunders, Leslie Prinz, our host, co-host, and I'm Joe Barton. We're also sponsored by Costco today. What did we get here that we can be sponsored by? Okay, this stuff right here is dangerous. I don't know if you can see this. Keto nuggets. All right, we're gonna start off with a little type 2 training session here. 4 grams of net carbohydrates, coconut, pumpkin, quinoa, and sunflower seeds covered in dark chocolate.
Roll my eyes.
With this is, the problem is you have to watch your portions because there's 16 servings that come in here. So if you're trying to eat 20 grams of net carbs a day or less on the Diabetes Solution Kit program, which is this bad boy right here, then you're gonna want to like portion size, like go get some Ziploc little baggies and like hide most of them for the day. But you can eat 1 or 2 portions of this and you're gonna feel like this is just a great day. So with that, today is type 2 basics. We're gonna talk about how to fix your blood sugar. In other words, how to reverse type 2. We can't say we can reverse diabetes because technically we're putting it into remission, which means there are no signs of diabetes anymore. Type 2 diabetes, just to clarify. And also, everybody is a little different. Dr. Saunders is a medical doctor, but he is not your medical doctor. So everything we say today is to be taken for informational purposes only. That is our disclaimer, but it's great information. Today is episode number 115, I believe. Leslie can correct me if I'm wrong there, but 115 weeks in a row that we've done this webinar, absolutely free because we love our customers, the people that we work with. We try to help fix their metabolic issues. And so thank you for joining us today. We love to hear from you in the chat. And we also just want to let you know, we are looking for, so just saw a couple chats come in from Brian and Glenn. You two guys are inspirational because we've hopped on private Zoom calls together and we recorded your story and we shared it with others on our YouTube channel. So thank you guys for doing that. And hey, if you're watching this and you've got a story, we want to hear from you. So if you're feeling your heart beating a little bit, don't worry, we're not going to do it right now, but maybe we can get signed up to schedule a call with you. So if you're interested in helping us out and telling others about your story of how you improved your numbers and are feeling better after following the Diabetes Solution Kit, then please put your name, show some interest in the chat. Send Leslie a message. You can email her at leslie@bartonpublishing.com or just put your email in the chat to Leslie right here and we will take that down and contact you, and we would love to hop on a private call and hear your story and then share it with others. So all right, with that, Leslie, you got anything to add here? Are we ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it. I think we're ready.
All right. That means we get to turn it over to the good doctor, Dr. Scott Saunders, all the way from California.
And just, why callest thou me good? There is none good but God. Okay.
Yes, amen.
Amen. Okay. So today, type 2, what is it? I've had a lot of people come to me with, how did this even happen? How do I come up with diabetes? Because, I don't eat bad. I eat good food. I have my salad every day, and I'm not eating junk food all the time. Then what the heck? Why is it that this happened to me? So that's what I want to talk about today. Why does it happen? So there are several things that are involved, and not everybody's the same. Some people have a genetic likelihood of getting diabetes, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but partly it's because of the way their hormones work, especially their adrenal glands, but also insulin. So, for example, you have in uh, Arizona, you have a group of indigent people called the Pima tribe, and they are relatives of a group in northern Mexico called the Tarahumara Indians. These two groups of people, they have the same genetic predisposition, but the indigent people in Mexico have a caseload of diabetes of pretty close to zero, almost none at all. Whereas in Arizona, the Pima Indians have an 80% chance of getting type 2 in their lifetime. So what's the difference? Why do you have such a wide disparity in these people who are both genetically predisposed to it? Well, in Mexico, the indigent people there and the Tarahumara, they grow their own food. They eat what they grow. So you can imagine what they're eating. They're eating beans, and they're having that meat from their cows or cattle or whatever it is. They have corn. They have a lot of corn, but they're living on very natural foods. And whereas over the border in the United States, they're living on things that are processed generally, foods that are processed. And what's really interesting about that is the vegetable oils are a big part of that. So you have fried bread, you have things that are fried, carbohydrates fried in oil. And that's a big problem because the oils make you resistant to insulin, so that you can't take the sugar into your cells very easily. And that's a big problem. So that initiates diabetes, especially in people who are predisposed to it. So it's not just eating too much sugar, although that's definitely a part of it. The other part is taking in too many oils, too much fats. So fats and oils, and then carbohydrates and sugar, and you mix them together, and that's where it gets really bad, is when you're mixing the carbohydrates with the fat, because then you have your blood sugar going up, and so you release insulin, but the fat prevents you from getting that sugar into your muscle cells, so that the sugar stays up and you get more and more insulin resistant. So that's why the diet has a major factor in this. Of course, it's you could say it's everything. It's not everything. You have genetic predispositions. You have the way your metabolism works, your hormone balance. All of those things change according to the individual, the person. So some people, you ever wonder why people beside you they can eat anything and they eat everything and they don't have any problems, and here I'm so careful about my diet, and I end up with type 2. What the heck? So the point is, it's too much, and there's a really simple way of knowing if you're getting too much, and that is by how much fat you store in your body. There's the myths that we have in our society are, for example, we're told that if we exercise enough, we can lose weight. But is that really true? Well, we've talked about this before. If you wanted to exercise to lose 1 pound, how long would it take? What would you have to do? Well, you'd have to, the average sized person would have to run a marathon. You'd have to run about 26 to 30 miles just to burn 1 pound of fat.
No problem.
That's how
I do that
efficient our
every
body.
day.
Well, that's how you keep so thin, Joe.
Yeah, right. I just run a marathon before breakfast every morning. Easy peasy.
Losing
No, actually, I don't.
Losing 1 pound a day by running a marathon. Yeah.
That is very interesting.
So then you have to ask the question, how long does it take you to put on that pound of fat? And how much does it take of eating to put on 1 pound of fat? And people, they think about that for a second and they go, wait a minute, there is no way I am going to lose weight. There's no way I'm going to get skinny by exercising. And that's exactly right. There's no way that's going to happen. So when you look at the reality of it, there's 2 issues to deal with. One is the amount of muscle you have on your body is determined by exercise. The amount of fat you have on your body is determined by food, diet. So if you have too much fat, you're eating too much food. That's as simple as it gets. And it doesn't matter then what your genetics are, what your hormones are, what all of these other factors are. For you, that's too much. Now, for somebody else, it would be fine. You can have people like, who is that guy in the Olympics that won like 7 gold, bunch of gold medals, the swimmer, Michael Phelps. Yeah. And I watched that they did a I don't know, on TV, they had
or something.
Documentary, yeah. Well, whatever it was, they were following him around, just like an article kind of thing. And they said, so they went through his diet, and it was like 5,000 calories per meal, 3 times a day, plus snacks in between. I mean, this guy was eating a lot of food, and he didn't have hardly any fat on him at all. Well, he was exercising a lot, and he had a lot of muscle mass. So those muscles could bring in a lot of sugar. And he would eat like, stacks of pancakes with a bunch of syrup on it and a lot of butter. So there was a lot of fat and carbs. Some people have a metabolism that can handle that. And that's the way they are. Other people cannot. So if you happen to be from a Pima Indian tribe in southern Arizona, eating like that would be devastating, because you would end up with diabetes very easily. So the way to tell is not to compare yourself with other people. Whatever other people are eating, well, you know what? That's what they can eat. But you have to know what you personally can eat, because it's really your personal diet that makes the difference. So how do you know? Well, we have a program called the Diabetes Solution Kit. And when you first start out, everybody does the same thing. And the reason is because, remember, it's too much. Yeah, so if you have diabetes type 2, then you have too much. And so what we're doing is cutting back. That's the first thing, detox. So this whole phase 1 detox program is a ketogenic diet. And what it does is you limit your carbohydrates to 20 grams. That's all you eat. And then you, as you're detoxing off of that, your blood sugar is going down and down and down. You're getting more sensitive to your insulin because you're detoxing from all this extra sugar that's been in your body for a long time. Then in phase 2, you start to personalize it. And that's where we can't give you a whole lot of instruction on what to do. We can't give you a diet. If you just do this, everything will be okay. Because we don't know how you're going to react to certain things. So that's where you're putting your individuality into it. So you're going in phase 2, you're saying, okay, I had watermelon. How does that affect me? Oh my gosh, my blood sugar shot up so high. Other people, they eat watermelon, they're fine. Some people eat ice cream and they're fine. Other people eat ice cream and their blood sugar goes up. So you're measuring your blood sugar and you're finding out what kinds of foods you can eat and what works well for you in your body with your metabolism and your hormones and your lifestyle. So then phase 3 is where you continue that for the rest of your life so that you don't go back to gaining weight and having diabetes. So those are the 3 phases of our program. And that is to make it yours. This is to individualize your own program for the rest of your life. It's not our program. We're just showing you how to get to your program and how you can make it yours. So whether you have hormone imbalances, whether you have genetic predispositions, no matter what the reason is, the underlying cause is still too much. If you have too much fat on your body, you're eating too much. And that's as simple as you can make it. And so if you know that, then that information gives you a good way of fixing the problem because you know why. And once you know why, you can fix it. So when you go to your doctor and the doctor says, well, there's nothing you can do about this because, you've got it and you have it for the rest of your life. And that's why we say we can't cure diabetes because you got it, right? That's what the doctor said. But it can be reversed. And I like the way Joe put it, in remission. In remission means, yeah, you may have it, but there's no way anybody can find it. That's what remission is. So you can do tests, you can do whatever, glucose tolerance tests, and everything's going to come out normal because you no longer have any of the signs or symptoms of that.
You mentioned earlier, just a little bit ago, about if you have too much fat, it's because you've eaten too much food. So like, how do you know if you have too much fat? What's the right amount or a good amount of body fat?
If you can actually measure your fat percentage, having anywhere between like 15 and 20 is kind of on the higher end. Less than 15 is on the lower end of fat. So most people, if the other way to look at it is body mass index. Body mass index isn't a great way to do it. If you look at, there was a great picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was 30, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was 70, and they had the same body mass index. But Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was 30 was all muscle, and Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was 70 was all fat. But it was the same body mass index in the same person, just at different times. But if you go by body mass index, being around 20 is good, as long as you're sort of an average person and you have an average amount of muscle. If you're a bodybuilder and you have a whole bunch of muscle, then you can be up to 30, well, depending on how much muscle you have. So, but in average people, if your body mass index is over 30, that's obese. That's obesity. So keeping your body mass index around 20, now just under 20 is optimal. So
there's a chart for body mass index that's a standard chart for that, or like how do you calculate that? Just go to Google.
It's not a simple calculation like you could just do it in your head. It's height to weight ratio. But the calculation isn't a direct ratio. It's indirect.
Yeah. And then body fat percentage for women, it can be higher for women than men, right? Because just of way our bodies are made. So 20 to 25%.
Yeah, women actually,
Yeah.
yes, women actually need more fat to make estrogens. And women who drop below like 10% body fat will completely stop making estrogen. They won't menstruate anymore. So like people that have anorexia nervosa, for example, they'll drop their body fat way low and they'll stop menstruating. They'll stop having a period. Yeah, so women
right,
do need more fat.
All right, so we've got quite a few participants with us live right now, and we're going to roll into the Q&A section here. So if you have questions, put them into the Q&A on the Zoom channel here, and Leslie's going to moderate that, and we'll try to get to all of your questions here. So, and just a reminder, if you're new to us or if you're watching our recording on YouTube, you can register to join us live every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Go to bartonwebinar.com, and then you can check out that whole page. There's a registration link there. We also have a second webinar that we do with Dana Cushing. She is a wellness coach and nutritional expert, great at cooking low carb. We do that every other Tuesday at, I believe, 1 p.m. Central Time. And so we haven't talked about that enough, but that is a great webinar as well. If you want to register for that, go to bartonwebinar.com as well. Just scroll down the page there a little bit and you'll get an email notification. You can have her answer questions for you about cooking and things like that as well. Plus, we do have links to our products, including the Diabetes Solution Kit, which is our flagship product. And then we have nutritional supplements that support this. One of those I just popped in my mouth. It's Healthy Gut Support, probiotic, prebiotic digestive enzyme, plus Cinechroma and Nervala and other good stuff. So that is all on bartonwebinar.com. Plus, that's where you can find all 114 previous episodes of this webinar through YouTube. So there we go. I'm going to transition over to Leslie and Dr. Saunders. I'm going to run inside the store quick and I'll be back in a little bit, but you guys keep rolling.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with some of these questions that have come in. All right, give me 1 second here. Let's see, Eric says, I'm trying to get a CGM as a tool to analyze my food responses at my own expense. Why is the pharmacy blocking this unless I have a prescription? Are there doctors that I can reach out to get a CGM prescription? Would you write me a prescription for a device, not medicine?
Yeah, okay. So CGM is continuous glucose monitoring, and they're those buttons that you put on, they have on the arm, that you can connect to your phone, that are measuring your blood sugar on a continuous basis, and you kind of move your phone by it, and it has a Bluetooth that connects, and so you get continuous monitoring, and it's literally, you can see your graph of where your blood sugar is going. They're fairly accurate. They're okay. And like I said before, I would be willing, I would want one of those if I had type 2 or type 1, that I would want one of those because I want to see the graph of where it is all the time and what's happening. I think it's more information. So yes, I would encourage that, to get one. And your doctor should prescribe it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing outside of the ordinary for your doctor to prescribe one. I don't know that. I don't know that you have to have. In this case, you have to have a prescription for it because it's an indwelling. It's something that has a little needle that goes under the skin, so subcutaneous. So yeah, you have to have a prescription. So the doctor needs to prescribe it, and I can't write prescriptions for anyone that is not, specifically my patient. So your doctor should prescribe it. It's pretty easy. If not, call around and find another doctor because they will.
Yes. Okay, Petra says I was doing pretty good and now my numbers are up, back on medication. Oh, Petra. Okay. No questions. I think she was just letting us know. So what would you recommend if that's something that's happening?
Okay. Then looking at why that is, what happened? Has the diet changed? If the diet hasn't changed, then has your exercise program changed? If that hasn't changed, then do you have extra stress? Because sometimes the numbers will just go up just because you're stressed. And what's really interesting about that is you don't need more medication when that's the reason your blood sugar's high. Medication actually doesn't help that. So looking at why that's happening is really important. And then then doing something about that, fixing the underlying problem, of course, is the best thing to do. So if your diet's changed, if you're eating more I was going to say carbohydrates. If you're eating more carbohydrates, yeah, on the ketogenic diet. Or remember last time we talked about if you eat more fat, sometimes that'll make you more insulin resistant. Your numbers will go up more. So, and that's the same thing stress does. Stress makes you more insulin resistant, so the numbers go up.
Okay, Julie says, I threw the gauntlet at a local physician who tried to call me diabetic after sloppy testing. So I went hunting for more information and found y'all. I took the call from your representative because it came from the same area code as me and was told that Joe's location is just to the east of me, thus the area code. So you'll have to let us know where you are. I have lost about 10 pounds so far, and I've noticed other improvements since using your protocols, and I listen every Thursday as much as I'm able. I have a history of gestational diabetes in which I was very successful at managing the blood sugar and weight gain. Still have lots of questions, but first of all, that's wonderful. And we want to keep updating us so we know how you're doing. I mean, it looks like you're off to a really good start. A question here, it says, since sprouted grain bread doesn't have flour, does that mean that the carb in it has a different reaction in the metabolism? Are all carbs the same?
The answer is definitely not. Not all carbs are the same. And sprouted bread is different, but as to how you're going to react or respond to that particular carbohydrate really depends on your metabolism, your digestion, and your absorption. And so it's not going to be all the same. There are other factors involved, and that is like how much fat is in with those carbs, or how much fiber is in with those carbs. So fiber will decrease the absorption or slow down the absorption. So there are a lot of factors involved, which is why we start off with phase 1 that says we're just going to cut out as much carbohydrate as we can and detox. And then after you're done detoxing, when everything's normal, then you add things back in and you can see, oh, gee, when I eat that bread, I have a big problem. When I eat that bread, I don't. And so sometimes it's not just bread is bread. Some types of carbohydrates are absorbed differently. People have found often that sourdough is absorbed very differently from regular white bread, even though they're both white flour, they're not sprouted. So trying out these things, that's where phase 2 comes in.
All right. Let's see, another question here from Roy. So sometimes when I take my probiotics too close together, I get diarrhea. So when I take the 80 loperamide HCI, how does that impact my gut biome? What should I be doing instead to avoid Montezuma's revenge?
Okay. So a lot of times I ask, what is diarrhea? So for example, I had a guy in my practice who we put him on a program and he was doing really well and all his numbers got better and he reversed everything. It was great. And he said, yeah, I'm doing great except for the diarrhea. And I'm like, okay, try this and try this. And we try, he said, yeah, he came back and he goes, yeah, I'm still getting the diarrhea. And after about 3 times of that, I said, okay, define diarrhea. What does diarrhea mean to you? And he said, well, I have like this soft stool. And I'm like, well, that's normal. How many times a day? Once a day. And I'm like, wait, once a day, soft stool? That's perfect. That's what it should be. He goes, no, no. He goes, I used to have hard stool. I never had to wipe. It was all like, I was clean. And now I have to carry around baby wipes to clean myself. And I'm like, okay, fine. That's not diarrhea. So if by diarrhea, you mean that that you're having like watery stools more than 10 times a day, that's diarrhea. That's Montezuma's revenge type diarrhea. The other thing you can do is not take probiotics too close together. Very often you can do probiotics like every other day, and then you don't get diarrhea, because it's really not a good idea to take loperamide. Loperamide is an opiate medication that slows down the intestines and makes everything move through slower, so it stops diarrhea, which is everything moving through too quickly. I would look into, why are the probiotics causing that problem? Maybe you're on the wrong probiotic. Maybe you should try a different one. Or maybe you should take it, space it apart, like just take it every other day or every third day or something like that. That might be a better way to go.
Okay. I read something recently about eating most days low carb and then periodically having a higher carb day to kind of shock the metabolism. Could you please explain?
Okay. Yes. It's not shock so much as your body has a primary carbohydrate, a primary fuel source that is sugar, right? That's the primary fuel source. And then there's secondary fuel sources, that is fat, and then tertiary, the third type is protein. You can actually use protein for energy as well. So what is happening when people say you should eat like ketogenic, very low carb, for a period of time, and then like 5 days, and then have 2 days off where you get to eat a lot of carbohydrates. And what that does is allow you to burn both sugar and fat, because if you're always eating, especially if you're always eating carbohydrates, then your body sort of just learns to use fat. You always use fat. And it can take 3 to, I think somebody like 9 days before he was getting ketosis, where he was able to burn significant amounts of fat, where it took a long time for the body to train his body to switch from carb to fat burning metabolism. So essentially what they're talking about here is that you can be on a ketogenic diet for a while, make ketones, and then have some carbs, because there are other reasons for that. So for example, you build up your glycogen in your muscles and in your liver when you eat those carbohydrates. So you're not always depleted. Also, there are some cells in your brain that can't even use ketones for energy. They have to use sugar. So then you resupply those periodically. So it's not so much shocking, but kind of like resupplying them. Okay, here's your carbs. Yeah, and then we'll go back to the ketogenic for a while.
Yes, that's good. Okay, Krish, welcome back. What will be the best way to reduce elevated triglyceride levels to normal? What is the acceptable level of triglycerides anyway?
You know what? That's a great question. I've had this come up a lot recently in my office too. Triglycerides are the fats that you burn. And in spite of us always talking about you're either burning carbohydrate metabolism versus fat metabolism, really they're both going on at the same time, just in different cells. And most of our energy use is burning fat, not carbohydrate. So just to make that clear. And so the triglycerides are the fats that are taken in that are then broken down into free fatty acids that are then used for energy. So those triglycerides become elevated when you can't use or you aren't using fat for energy, when you only have fat, sugar burning metabolism. So if you're using sugar all the time, then your triglycerides will tend to go up and up and up, because you're making triglycerides or you're eating triglycerides, and that's the fat that you burn, but you're not using it very much for energy. So how do you get the triglycerides down? Well, you can take fish oil. That seems to help. But there's a really good and easy way to do it, and that's with a ketogenic diet. So phase 1 of the Barton Publishing Diabetes Solution Kit, that phase 1 program where you're eating very low carbohydrates, then you train your body, and like I said, it can take 3 to 9 days to train your body to burn fats instead. And so what happens then is your cells will take in the triglycerides, and your blood triglycerides will drop down.
Okay. Question from Meg: is soluble fiber more useful for diabetics than insoluble fiber, or would you rank them equally?
This is like a big, we could do a whole lesson on this.
I'll write it down.
No, not rank them equally, but essentially they're both really important, but for different reasons. The insoluble fiber is mostly what's growing the good bacteria in your intestines, and the soluble fiber is the soluble fiber is mostly what's growing the bacteria in your intestines, whereas the insoluble fiber is mostly what's keeping your stool soft and keeping things moving through your intestines and cleaning you out. So they're both really important, but for different reasons. So that's why I don't think taking just a psyllium seed, just like one fiber, when we say have a 40-gram, eat 40 grams of fiber a day, that should include both soluble and insoluble, instead of saying, well, I'll just take 40 grams of Metamucil and drink that down. That's not the best way to go. You really need the spectrum of things to grow the good bacteria too.
Okay. Paul says, my glucose fasting readings have been trending down lately, such as 100, 110, etc. I don't take any supplements for my blood sugar. Would Cinechroma benefit me so that I can move on to level 2?
Well, the fact that they're trending down is a good, Paul, that's great. The fact that they're trending down. So hang in there and continue. So the question is, should I add Cinechroma, or would that benefit? Well, I don't know for sure. Generally, this is what I found as I test people, is that most of us in the United States are deficient in certain nutrients that help blood sugar, help improve blood sugar, and help use sugar more efficiently in our system. So chromium, vanadium, selenium, vitamin D, those are big, and they're very common deficiencies. So would it help you? It might, and it might help anyway. It's a decent supplement even for people who don't have blood sugar problems.
Okay, we had a question from Cindy about the supplement Melatonin. So have you heard of the supplement? In addition to yours, I've been taking that. What do you think of Melatonin? I just did a quick Google search and I'm not even finding it. So, are you familiar with that by chance?
No, I haven't heard of that. What that is.
Okay. Very interesting. So let us know if you have more information on that, Cindy. Julie, Joe, I think you might have been gone when I was reading this, but Julie somehow found us and talked with one of our representatives, and then found out that she lives close to us. So she's from Sioux Falls. So Julie, Joe's just outside of Brandon, and I'm just outside of Gareton. So you're real close to us. Awesome. Keep us posted though, like I said, on how you're doing. And we want to keep hearing from you. So let us know how it's going. Let's see.
Julie, let's go out for coffee.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll take her out for coffee. That'd be great.
Go ahead and email me, Julie. Leslie at Barton Publishing. I did post that in the chat there. Okay, let me see where I'm at here. Okay, Ella says, I've lost so much weight, not sure why. How can I reduce carbs without losing more weight? Great question.
Okay. Start with the bottom line of why. Why did you lose weight? So if you're worried about losing weight, if you're you're underweight already, and if you're underweight and you have type 2, then it might not just be a carb issue. Your blood sugar might be going up for another reason. Either you're really insulin resistant, or you may have some genetic abnormality, or you might have autoimmune antibodies against insulin, for example. So looking at why would be the most important thing for you to do, because if your pancreas isn't functioning, if you're not making any insulin, you just might need insulin to stop you from losing weight.
Okay, let's see here. Krish says, oh no, not that one. I'm sorry. There's another one from Krish. Okay. Also, does elevated triglycerides cause pancreatitis?
Okay. So the answer is yes, but not just from general elevation in triglycerides. The pancreas is very sensitive to this, and so when the triglycerides are really high, and I've had people where I've drawn their blood in my office, and you have this tube, and half the tube is fat, and the fat floats to the top. And so with triglycerides over 1,000, yeah, that's a risk for getting pancreatitis. But the usual, you're over 150, between 150 and 300. Those are where most people are. That's not a risk for pancreatitis.
Okay, Lisa says, I've heard Indian gooseberries are good for diabetes management. Do you know anything about this and where to find? Thank you.
Yeah, the Indian gooseberries can help lower blood sugar. There are actually a whole bunch of things that do. There's bitter melon and several herbs. Ginkgo. No. There's another one. Anyway, there's a bunch of herbs. What's that?
Ashwagandha.
Yeah. Well, ashwagandha, that one too. Anyway, there's a lot of different things that will help blood sugar go down. In Cinechroma, we chose cinnamon because the water extract of cinnamon is very useful and most people tolerate it well. But there are a lot of others, and so some people take berberine, some people take bitter melon. Some you can add them all together. Some people put all of those herbs together. But the bottom line is, the reason we made Cinechroma what it is, the cinnamon, yeah, it helps the blood sugar a little bit, but that's not the big issue. The big issue is to replace all of those the minerals and vitamins that are missing that can help use the sugar more efficiently. So the Cinechroma is a lot more than just to lower blood sugar. It's really to help your body to have the proper nutrition to be able to use glucose properly.
Speaking of other things, I read an interesting article today on the benefits of bay leaf, which I did not know much about. Like you can, the bay leaf that you might put in a soup or in the crock pot or something like that, and then you take it out right before you eat. But there's a lot of benefits to actually drinking bay leaf water. And anyway, that might be something for you guys to check out, because I don't know, all of the things that it helps with, but I was very surprised to learn about it. So Let's see. We have a question here from Ray. I'm making good progress. I've lost about 40 pounds since the first of the year, and I have about 50 pounds to go. I reduced my magnesium supplements and it helped, but I still have multiple uncontrollable stools about every other day. Should I stop the magnesium altogether?
Yes. And in fact, in stopping the magnesium, you could get like we have a magnesium oil, which is just a solution of magnesium that you put on your skin to absorb it that way. That way, you can avoid having the diarrhea issues. Yeah, so if magnesium is causing you to have uncontrollable stools, then that just means you have too much magnesium. And so you might try taking a smaller dose or taking a dose a couple times a week, or using the magnesium spray.
Perfect. You can find that at Barton Webinar. Oh, go ahead.
Or he went to Mexico and got E. coli.
Well,
It happened.
Or anywhere else. Yeah.
But we do have our magnesium spray at Barton Nutrition. You can find it there, or Barton Webinar. And then you can use the code webinar25 to get 25% off. So definitely check that out. Let's see. Meg says, do silica and or activated charcoal have a place in a diabetes protocol?
Okay. Silica definitely could. Activated charcoal could. The reason for those, and the reason that comes up, is I keep talking about toxicity, right? How you're toxic on calories, you're toxic on sugar, you're toxic on fat. So you want to detox. And so what about the silica and the activated charcoal for detox? Those are great detoxes for organic toxins. So for people who have things like molds or yeasts, the fungus that makes organic toxins, activated charcoal, silica, they're great for getting rid of those kinds of things. Other types of organic overdoses on medications and things like that, also those are helpful. But for our purposes, for what we're talking about, this kind of toxicity, you just need to detox by getting away from it as much as possible, and avoiding fats and carbohydrates and proteins so that you don't remain toxic. Because you still got to eat, you still need energy. So in that sense, the silica and activated charcoal wouldn't be part of our protocol.
Okay, this is a really good question that I'm curious about too. Meg is asking, how important is melatonin in our biochemistry beyond helping with sleep?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is big. We could actually do a whole webinar on melatonin too. Yeah, melatonin is important for sleep, but it also is a hormone that affects every cell in your body. It prevents cancer. It helps you grow melanin in your skin. That's how it got its name. Melatonin it induces the production of melanin. So when you're exposed to sunshine, and your eyeballs are exposed to sunshine, you actually make your pineal gland makes more melatonin in the evening when you start your anabolic metabolism. And melatonin is a very important part of your anabolic metabolism. And the anabolic metabolism is what rebuilds everything. It rebuilds your skin, your joints, your bones, your brain. Every part of your body is rebuilt at night when you start this anabolic metabolism that is initiated at first by falling asleep, which is started from melatonin. So melatonin is an anabolic hormone, and it's very important for the body. Yeah. Good thought, Meg. It's huge.
Yes. All right, here is a note from William. I have had type 2 diabetes for 20 years. My father was an MD, so I had too much faith in doctors and believed there was nothing I could do but manage this lifetime disease. Sadly, my dad died in an accident in 1982 before I got the type 2 diabetes, so I never could ask him about it. I followed that pitiful food pyramid and walked me right into type 2 diabetes with all those carbs. I know there's a genetic predisposition for type 2 because all three of my brothers have it too, as well as my mom's only brother. I finally realized that everyone on the net could all be lying about reversing type 2 diabetes. After a divorce, I made food my comfort and finally stopped at 256 pounds and an A1C of 12. I tried a number of different programs and they would work for a while and then I would plateau. I got the diabetes reversal program in March of this year and put it into practice right away. My A1C was at 6.7 and I followed the 6-10 protocol and took Cinechroma and turmeric BP 6 months later, and I've lost 34 more pounds.
Woo!
Good
All
work.
right.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Good job. Way to
And
go.
awesome. And William, let us know
Thanks
if you
for
want to
sharing.
chat sometime. It'd be fun to chat with you if you're open to that. Feel free to message me, Leslie at Barton Publishing. It'd be great to set something up in chat. Brian says,
Yeah.
Leslie, you're supposed to take the bay leaf out. I think so. If you try to eat a bay leaf, it's pretty crunchy. Kind of weird.
Good
I
fiber.
used to think that I was supposed to like crumble it up and put it in dishes. That's a mistake also. So at least for me, I don't know the exact right way, but I can't imagine eating it. Maybe you can, I don't know. But Brian says, good job, William. See, you guys are so good. You support each other and that's what we love. Okay. Let's see, how much time do we have? Oh no, we're running out of time. Let's go to, let's see, Rosalind. When I first started out with an A1C of 10.8, I think in May. In September, it went down to 8.7. This past weekend, 7.6. So that would be from May until May, September, and then this past week. Is this a slow or normal progress? My cholesterol went up though. I didn't realize coconut oil really elevated my LDL and HDL. It went up from 180 to 240. I just recently started using it thinking it was better to use. I'm kind of lost on this.
Okay. Wow. So the drop in hemoglobin A1C from 10 to 8.7 to 7.6, that is not too slow. That is actually a very excellent way of doing it. Because when you think about what an A1C is, it's an overall average of about 3 months. So since May to September, May, June, July, August, September. So that's only 4 months. And then to drop 2 points, that's dramatic. And then to drop another point in another couple of months. So that's really good progress. That is excellent progress. So then the second question is the cholesterol went up. The HDL and LDL went up, I guess. So the HDL is considered the high density lipids is considered the good cholesterol, but it's not really that it's good. And LDL is considered bad cholesterol, but it's not really bad. Really what it is the ratios between them is what's important. So if you look at the total cholesterol to HDL ratio, that's a good way to look at it, because we've done a seminar, a webinar on this, and it was about cholesterol generally. We discussed why not worrying about your cholesterol is a good idea. is that's not something that's worth worrying about. That it's not. It's something that is kind of a number to look at, just like we were talking about triglycerides. Oh, your triglycerides are high. That means you're not using your fat very efficiently. Then you should go on a low carb diet. And that works really well. In fact, lowering sugar is a great way to lower your cholesterol, improve your cholesterol ratios, really is what's important, and then lower your triglycerides. So no, don't, taking in coconut oil, and a lot of people have said that that's really good for making ketones, because coconut oil goes through the liver and directly is made into ketones. So you up your ketones a lot. But what our purpose is not just to make ketones. Our purpose is to reverse the diabetes, and that extra fat will make you more resistant to insulin. So, so yes, avoiding the extra fat is a good idea.
Okay, and to add on to William's story here, my A1C is now 5.6. I'm doing intermittent fasting to get rid of the remaining stubborn belly fat. I have about 2 to 3 pounds to go. I do exercise to build lean muscle, and I walk my dog 6 times a day for 20 minutes at a time. Thank you for such a great program, Bill. Oh, so excited. That is amazing.
Bill? Yeah.
Amazing.
That has got to be one happy dog too, man.
Yeah.
6 walks a day. Don't let Gus know that. Wow, that's impressive.
Okay, we have one other question. Okay, this is from Ella. My A1C is 14. Should I take medicine to get it down first, or will this program help? If medicine is considered, which is considered best, insulin or metformin?
Okay, so here's where I can't tell you what to do, because here's what I don't know. I don't know what your insulin level is. So 14 is a very high hemoglobin A1C. That means your average blood sugar is over 300. So that may mean that you're not making enough insulin, in which case you need to test. You need to know what your pancreas function is. So it's called C-peptide. C-peptide, and that's kind of gives you a general idea of pancreas function. And then insulin level, fasting insulin level, along with fasting blood sugar, and then your hemoglobin A1C. So that constellation will tell you where you are and how your pancreas is functioning. Because if you get back where your C-peptide is less than 0.5 and your insulin level is 1, which should be about 5, then you may find that you're not making enough insulin. You might make a little bit, but not enough. So you may need to increase, you may need to use some insulin, or go on a special diet for low insulin. So knowing what you have is the most important thing. And the medicine, don't even start any medicine until you know what the problem is and you're addressing the problem. So if you have no insulin at all, you need to inject insulin. So that would be the best choice. And all of the other choices are not good, because metformin is not going to help you if you don't have any insulin. And glipizide and glyburide, you're not going to make more insulin if you don't have any insulin. So the medications aren't going to be useful. So that is the bottom line.
Awesome. 2 quick notes before we wrap this up. Brian says, thanks, Joe. I will be starting my daily marathons tomorrow morning. Very excited. So he says, I learned something every webinar. Thank you,
Joe. You've inspired them.
Yeah. Let me know how it's going, guys. And then the next thing, Meg had mentioned
a marathon a day.
Meg had mentioned that it is Thanksgiving next week. And so all of you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We will not be doing our webinar next week, but we will continue on the following week. Okay, so you'll get a notification about that. So Dr. Saunders, thank you so much. As always, you're amazing. And your patients are blessed to have you today. So you better go see them.
Thanks. All right. See ya.
Bye. And I think
Thanks,
that's probably
Dr.
it. We got
Saunders.
through all of
Bye.
our questions today.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah, and we had some
I've
really
got my
good
cats
questions that were
trolling
really
in my
good.
car now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
guys.
that was
We
good.
will see you in 2 weeks then.
Yeah. All right. Send us your stories. Send Leslie a message at leslie@bartonpublishing.com. Even if you're not live, if you're watching this on YouTube, she will take your info, and we'd love to set up a time to hop on a Zoom call privately and hear your story and share it with others. So good stuff.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless you guys. Hope you have a great time with family. And a real quick tip for Thanksgiving: eat earlier in the day and then just stop eating by like 5 o'clock at night. Let all that food digest and go to sleep on an empty stomach if you can, and your body will fix itself. So, but
Awesome.
don't worry too much about not enjoying a little bit of turkey dinner. So, all right.
Yes.
Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you, guys. Yep, thank you. We'll see you guys later.
Bye, everyone. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.